Political systems. These are the different types of governments that different nations may have. A state is a region that shares a common government. The first real states, called city-states, developed in Southwest Asia more than 5,000 years ago. A city-state in history is an independent state consisting of a city and its surrounding territory. Later, some military leaders conquered large areas and ruled them as empires. An empire is a state containing several countries. Geographic features such as rivers and mountains sometimes helped governments control territory by protecting against invasion. Nation states. Today, most states are nation states. A nation state is a state that is independent of other states. The United States is an example of a nation state. We often use the general words nation, like national, or country to refer to nation states. So the United States is an independent country. All nation states have some common features. For example, nation states have specific territory, that would be the land, with clearly defined borders. Nation states have governments, laws, and authority over citizens. Most are divided into smaller states or provinces that contain cities and towns. So we have different levels of government. We have the country, which is federal government. We have our state, Michigan, which is the smaller regions. So we have 50 different state governments. And then each state is divided into, we have counties, and then we also have city governments. Forms of government. Each state has a government, but there are many different kinds of government, and they all work differently. They're unique to the area or to the people that are running them, and they change. We know in the US they change, like we're going to have an election, and there might be some changes every few years as we have elections. They have changed over the course of different presidents. Throughout history, most states were autocracies ruled by a single person, or oligarchies ruled by a small group of people. Today, however, many states have some form of democracy in which citizens hold the political power. Citizens, people, are supposed to have the power by voting and voting people out if they're not doing what you would want them to do. Now let's look at the boxes, the orange box for democracy. Examples. There is direct democracy, ancient Athens representative democracy, which is an example of the United States. In ancient Greece, democracy started in their city-states, so around Athens, the area around Athens, which was the capital of the Greek Empire, or ancient Greece, the civilization. And democracy is a form of government in which citizens hold political power. Citizens are the ultimate source of government power and authority. Our founding fathers borrowed ideas because they were scholars. They went to universities and were educated on the ways of ancient Greece, and they brought that democracy into the 1700s when we fought for our independence. They came up with the idea, because all of Europe was kings and queens, of having that democracy. In a direct democracy, citizens come together to pass laws and select leaders. This would be in smaller groups, like a city-state in ancient Greece. The men would get together to vote, and it was small enough that you could do that. In the United States, we wouldn't be able to do anything else if every adult had to vote on every issue. We'd spend our entire time. So that's why we have representative democracy. We elect people, and we pay them because that's their full-time job, is to read laws, educate themselves on the laws and what the people want, and then vote on them. So in a representative democracy, citizens elect representatives to make government decisions. That way we can all do our jobs while the representatives take care of the laws. The powers of a democratic government are usually limited. So we have a constitution, and all of these lawmakers, our House of Representatives, our senators, they have to follow the Constitution, and our governors and our presidents. They have to follow the Constitution. We have a federal constitution for the whole United States, and we have a state constitution for Michigan. A monarchy. Examples. There are two different types of monarchies also. An absolute monarchy is Saudi Arabia, still today. A constitutional monarchy is the United Kingdom, Great Britain. A monarchy is a form of government in which the state is ruled by a monarch. A monarch is usually a king or queen. Power is inherited by family members. So there's already people in place who are going to take over for Queen Elizabeth. She's 92 or 93 years old, and she has not yet stepped down from being the Queen of England. She can pass it to her son, who is Charles, but I think he's already in his 70s, or her grandson, who is a young man, Prince William, could take over next. A monarch is usually a king or queen, and then they pass the power. Absolute monarchs have unlimited power. However, Great Britain has a constitution, and they have a parliamentary democracy. So they have a House of Commons that is elected by the people, representatives, and then they choose a prime minister, and it's a leader of whatever power was most chosen, most voted for in the House of Commons. And the House of Commons, who were elected, choose the prime minister. Canada has the same system, so we read about this in that article in Newsella. And then the prime minister works with the queen. So there's a constitution about what their powers are. Monarchs in constitutional monarchies are limited by law and share power with other branches of government. So they work together. The powers of a monarchy can be limited or unlimited. So in Great Britain, they're limited by the Constitution. In Saudi Arabia, it's an unlimited monarchy. It's a absolute monarchy with the king of Saudi Arabia. And then authoritarian governments. So throughout history, we know Hitler was actually elected. Germany was a democracy, but then he took over as a dictator. He didn't follow the Constitution. He didn't follow what the people of Germany wanted. He acted on his own. He used terrorism ideas of fear and with throughout his people to very authoritarian to make everybody follow. He used scare tactics, violence. It was a horrible. So you have to be careful not to let those kind of people take over a government. An authoritarian government is one in which power is held by a single person or a small group. Government may control all aspects of life. So like in North Korea, where we saw they were spending money on weapons instead of on food to keep their people alive. One of the common forms of an authoritarian government is communism, a political and economic system in which the government owns all property and makes all economic decisions. Remember, communism is a form of government, authoritarian government, and the government controls the economy. So we learned about an economic system, a command economy where the government controls everything. It is not the same as socialism. We need to understand the differences. Socialism, remember, most of Europe and Canada. With a democracy, socialism, and we have some socialism in the US, is just when government provides services. So our public education, having Social Security for our elderly when they retire, those are social programs, and that's an economic part of where the government and the people work together. So with democracy, socialism works really well. That's where maybe your tax money is used to provide good health care so everybody can go to the doctor, and you don't have companies making money off of people being sick, but you still have lots of private businesses where they can make profits in other ways, not off of medicine. The powers of an authoritarian government are unlimited. So in those countries, there's no constitution in North Korea. In China, that government, very authoritarian, and it's a kind of a group that rules, but they do have one leader that stands at the head of that executive branch, or the leader of the country.